Great. Thank you. So welcome everyone to our first introduction to restorative nature-based solutions in Latin America and European cities. Before we start this session, I want to mention some important points and recommendations to all our audience. This session is being recorded, so if you not to agree or you are not agreed to be recorded, that your face is part of this video, please turn off your camera. Also, please remind you keep your mics in mute just to have a better sound and communication during the presentations. And also, we are asking you to rename in your Zoom session and add SP or EN before your name. This is just for the identification for the later activity that we are going to work on. And we're going to have small groups in Spanish and small groups in English, and that will help us to create these groups. As well, before I present the opening speakers, I want to remind you as well that you can send your comments and questions using the chat. And if also you have any other issue to comment, you can contact us to any one of the team of the organization of this webinar to help you if you require some assistance. We having as well interpretation service. So this webinar is going to have some speakers in English and others in Spanish. So in the menu of your Zoom screen, you can see a global. This is the interpretation, and you can select the language that you prefer. And I think that's it. And now I will mention the same instructions in Spanish just for your preference, the people who speak Spanish. Bienvenidos a todos a nuestro primer webinario de Ciudades por la Naturaleza, una divertida introducción hacia las soluciones basadas en la naturaleza en las ciudades de América Latina y Europa. Esta sesión está siendo grabada, entonces si ustedes no están de acuerdo con que su imagen aparezca, les agradecemos nada más apagar su cámara. También mantener su micrófono apagado durante las sesiones. Y pueden utilizar el chat para mandar comentarios y preguntas. Vamos a tener la opción de interpretación, así que en la barra de abajo de su menú pueden utilizar en el icono del globo, elegir el idioma de su preferencia. Sin más, voy a darle la palabra a Karen Porras, quien nos dará un mensaje de bienvenida. Thank you to all of us. I will introduce to Karen Porras first, who is going to give us some welcoming words. And after that, Jorn Klein, who is going to introduce as well what is this city.
Gracias, Mónica. Buenos días para todos y todas. Como directora ejecutiva de la Unión Nacional de Gobiernos Locales, institución que agremia y representa políticamente al régimen municipal en Costa Rica desde hace 44 años, y como secretaria técnica de la Comisión de Ambiente de la Federación y municipios y asociaciones de gobiernos locales, FLACMA, organización latinoamericana municipalista que agrupa a todas estas instituciones. Me complace darles un cordial y calurosa bienvenida a esta webinar que, como bien lo ha dicho Mónica, una divertida introducción a las soluciones restaurativas basadas en la naturaleza, en ciudades de América Latina, el cual representa el primero de una serie de webinars que serán ofrecidos por nuestras instituciones, perdón.
Doña
por nuestras instituciones en compañía de nuestros compañeros de Climate Alliance y la CGLU, quienes en conjunto lideramos la comunidad de práctica de soluciones basadas en la naturaleza, en el marco del proyecto Interlace. Para nosotros es un honor contar con la presencia de tantas personas de diferentes partes del mundo, que nos une además un propósito común, que es preservar el medio ambiente. Tal y como todos hemos constatado, nuestras ciudades en los diferentes países, con el fin de impulsar el desarrollo, muchas de ellas han experimentado un crecimiento urbano exponencial, desordenado muchas veces además, el cual no siempre va de la mano de la preservación y el cuidado del medio ambiente. Esto ha ocasionado la degradación de los ecosistemas urbanos. Es inspirado en esta problemática que el proyecto Interlace promueve e impulsa el diseño y la implementación de soluciones basadas en la naturaleza para restaurar dichos ecosistemas. Y por supuesto que nuestros gobiernos locales, ciudades, son pieza fundamental para el logro de estos objetivos. En este espacio, el día de hoy, al ser el primer webinar de Ciudades por la Naturaleza, vamos a exponer una introducción del concepto de soluciones basadas en la naturaleza y también exploraremos las múltiples ventajas de su aplicación. Para ello contamos además con panelistas de lujo. Agradezco muchísimo y doy la bienvenida también a doña Sara y de CGLU, que siempre nos apoya y también que nos enseña muchísimo, y a Juan Carlos Uribe, cuyo aporte ha sido esencial para el desarrollo de esta actividad. Por último, quiero expresar el compromiso que tenemos desde la Unión Nacional de Gobiernos Locales en Costa Rica y en FLACMA en Latinoamérica, de continuar impulsando y apoyando procesos como estos que esperamos restauren nuestros ecosistemas urbanos y que también se puedan sumar muchas otras ciudades de nuestro continente. Quiero además ponerles un ejemplo para finalizar. Costa Rica representa el 0.03% de la superficie terrestre, pero no obstante, concentramos cerca del 6% de la biodiversidad del mundo y hemos decidido apostar a través de muchos tratados ambientales internacionales a contribuir con el planeta en el cuidado del ambiente. Espero que hoy sea un día exitoso para todos y todas y que aprendamos muchísimo. Dios los bendiga y muchas gracias.
Thank you so much, Karen. Now I will let the voice to Jörn, who is going to present as well.
Voy a poner la cámara.
Can you hear me and can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Then thanks very much, Monica. Thank you very much, Karen, for the warm welcome words. Welcome as well and bienvenidos from my side. My name is Jörn Klein. I'm a project manager at Climate Alliance headquarters here in Frankfurt, Main, Germany, and I'm part as well of the organizing team of Cities Talk Nature. So I'm very glad that you all registered and showed up for this event and that there is such a huge interest in nature-based solutions. And I'm very much looking forward for the upcoming 2 hours for our common webinar. As we all know from ourselves, since we have been children and we know this as well as adults in our professional
como adultos también o como
context,
en un contexto profesional, el aprendizaje es un proceso de vida interno que nunca se detiene. El aprendizaje es algo que siempre nos está acompañando. Desde que nacemos empezamos a percibir nuestros entornos, aprendemos nuestro ambiente y procesamos la información que obtenemos nos fijamos en otras personas y en otras cosas y aprendemos los unos de los otros, incluimos lo que vemos y lo que procesamos en nuestro propio repertorio de hábitos y que desarrollamos. Así que decide el uso de...
To use ways of acting, to use techniques and artifacts to create them, these techniques and artifacts, to develop them, to exchange ideas with others, with other people, with other stakeholders, is deeply rooted in our human nature, we can say. And this is as well why we are meeting here today, getting in touch with each other, exchanging experiences and learning from another is also the central aim of today's event, Cities Talk Nature, or Ciudades por la Naturaleza. I hope I pronounce this well. Cities Talk Nature is a format that is a very important component within the transnational project Interlace, in which municipalities and stakeholders from different professions and social contexts deals with the topic of nature-based solutions. They have different approaches, different focus on the topic, and different point of views. And in this context, the participants of City Talk Nature, so basically you, are communicating, working, cooperating and exchanging ideas on various levels. So on the local level, on a regional level, and as well on a global level. And the knowledge and the exchange, the idea of ideas which we are creating together has to be circulated. And doing this activity of circling this knowledge, we have 4 city networks which are helping us to do this. So this is UCLG, FLACMA, UEGNL, and Climate Alliance, like Karen was already mentioned it before. If we are talking about Cities Talk Nature, this format is basically or is based on 2 pillars. On the one hand, we have the so-called local engagement events. And on the other hand, we have the webinar series why we are here meeting today together. With these 2 activities, we try to foster the exchange on objectives, on processes, on practical examples, best practices, on technologies, on financing options and business models, and how to restore degraded ecosystems. We want to introduce to you tools, methods, and approaches that support the planning, the implementation, and the management of restorative nature-based solutions. And furthermore, we want to boost and support collective actions towards more livable, inclusive, and sustainable cities and towns of all sizes and locations in Latin America and Europe and all over the world. We want to connect people, places, and nature. That's our main aim we have in Cities Talk Nature. When we're talking about the engagement events, there will be conducted 1 event in each Interlace city. We will start beginning next year with conducting these local engagement events. And the cities in Interlace are the metropolitan area of Krakow in Poland, the city of Chemnitz in Germany, which is also today here and will present something in a later stage of this webinar, the city of Granollers in Spain. So these are the European municipalities in Interlace, and then we have the city of Portoviejo in Ecuador, the city of Envigado in Colombia, and the group of municipalities Sebima in Costa Rica. And we will see there as well some practical or best practices from these municipalities later. The webinar series is mostly focusing on the exchange or the introduction of tools, of methods, of practical experience, best practices that are developed within Interlace or with stakeholders who are engaged in City Talk Nature. And like I said, so the inputs which will be presented are from our project partners as well from external stakeholders. So here a call to action for you. If you have an interesting approach on nature-based solutions or you're working on a project which is dealing with this topic, so please do not hesitate to get in touch with us and let's see if we can somehow cooperate, learn from each other, feature us. I think there are many ways of cooperating. The conclusion is the aim of both events are of this local engagement events and of this webinar series is to enable multi-directional learning between local governments and stakeholders. And the focus of City Talks Nature is to learn from each other what works well, what does not work that well, and what can we try out experimentally. I wish all of us, I wish you and us a wonderful kickoff webinar today, an exciting exchange, a lot of fun while learning from and with each other, and hope that we will have the opportunity to welcome you as well in the following webinars. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, John. I hope with this introduction, all the idea of the city stock nature is getting clear for you. And now I want to invite you, Benedict, to who is going he is part of the Ecological Institute, the main organization who bring us together to all this crazy project called Interlace. And please, Benedict, take the voice, and he will presenting us what is the Interlace Project and all these issues about the nature-based solutions. We can hear
you. Now you can hear me. Hi, everyone, and thanks for the introduction, Monica, and also to Jörn and Karen for the nice introductory words and a good explanation of what actually the Cities of Nature is all about. I hope you can already see my screen and the presentation there. As Monica already mentioned, I'm the project manager of Interlace, and the Cities of Nature webinar series, as Jörn explained, is part of this project. And I want to give you a brief introduction into urban ecological restoration, which is a key concept that we are dealing with in Interlace. And I will also provide you with a perspective from the Interlace project and how we're approaching this huge topic. So I want to start with some urban challenges I think that most of you are aware of. And there are, of course, multiple and complex challenges such as urban sprawl, the conversion of open spaces, but also climate change that is facing major challenges in many cities, and, for example, leads to more frequent and more sincere floods and droughts. There's also the challenge of air and water pollution in many cities, and of course, these challenges are often overlapping, and they aggravate, for example, the degradation of natural habitats, but also lowering the provision of ecosystem services in these cities. And all this in the end can lead to sincere effects on human health, on human well-being, but also on social equity, on the resilience of the cities as such, but also of their populations and especially vulnerable parts of the population. And they also have adverse effects on the biodiversity in cities. And this brings me to my next slide, which is about ecological restoration, because I just want to briefly introduce this concept. And what it also means in an urban context we're talking about today. So I brought a very brief description here from the European Commission, a recent definition they released, and they're really highlighting that ecological restoration is the process of assisting the recovery of an ecosystem to good condition as a means of conserving biodiversity and ecosystem resilience. So you can already see biodiversity conservation, but also ecosystem resilience are two key terms related to ecological restoration. And in the urban context, a few measures, just to give you a few examples, for example, are the cleaning up of waterways, but also the creation of urban forests and other wildlife habitats, but also the restoration of urban wetlands or rivers, and also the rehabilitation of brownfields or fallow land, and to turn them or convert them into nature reserves and recreation areas. So these would be a few prominent examples from the urban context. And another key term I want to introduce here is this umbrella term, nature-based solutions. So I think some of you already have heard this term, maybe. It's becoming more and more popular. And it's really, as I said, an umbrella term. And it's basically more than just ecological restoration, because it's really addressing societal challenges, or these nature-based solutions aim to address societal challenges. So they are looking, okay, how can we create multifunctional benefits by basically inspired by nature and supported by nature. So not only looking at this ecological dimension, but also at social and economic benefits these nature-based solutions can contribute to. And also an important aspect here of this definition, which is by the European Commission, is how to make sure that these nature-based solutions also help build resilience. a key aspect is also that these solutions bring more and more diverse nature and natural features and process into cities, but not only cities. Nature-based solutions can also be found in landscapes or seascapes. And it's important to consider that these nature-based solutions should be locally adapted, meaning also including local stakeholders, diverse kind of knowledge from different stakeholders. They should be resource efficient and they should be systemic. So ideally, it's always a mix of different solutions, of course, and also looking at the system and the complex challenges in the system as a whole. And then finally, and this brings me also back to this this concept of ecological restoration that I just introduced. These nature-based solutions must also benefit biodiversity and support the delivery of a range of ecosystem services. So they're really about, okay, how can we also rehabilitate ecosystem services that maybe have been lost in urban ecosystems. And when we bring this together, so nature-based solutions on the one hand, but also urban ecological restoration on the other hand, then we come to this term that we call restorative nature-based solutions. And this is what we're looking at in the Interlace project. So nature-based solutions that restore, rehabilitate, and reconnect ecosystems, and not only in cities, but also in peri-urban areas, and also looking at the interconnections between the urban and the rural. And these restorative nature-based solutions should always offer a clear added value for biodiversity and ecosystem services, but not only for these, also for the social systems, or they should also increase the resilience of the of populations in these urban or peri-urban areas. And this is also very important, support the connectivity between nature and social processes, or natural and social processes. So strengthen this ecological and social connectivity. And just to emphasize again, what are the objectives of these restorative nature-based solutions? They should conserve biodiversity, of course, and also improve ecological and social connectivity. But, and this is again, this multifunctionality of restorative nature-based solutions, they're also addressing other goals. And these can be a diverse set of goals. For example, they can contribute to climate mitigation, adaptation. They can reduce air and water pollution. They can increase human health and well-being, and so on. And because it's, I know, still quite abstract, but I think we're all already looking forward to some more concrete examples, because we will hear them later on from a few from our Interlace cities, from Chemnitz and Sebima. So then I think this will also help to illustrate this concept a bit more. And just to also give you a few ideas what this Interlace project is all about, that Jörn already introduced briefly. So in Interlace, we're really trying to empower and equip European and Latin American cities to restore and rehabilitate peri-urban ecosystems, to make their cities more livable, resilient, and inclusive. And we're trying to foster European and Latin American cooperation. And we also want to make urban ecosystem restoration in these cities, but also in cities beyond our 6 Interlace cities, to ensure that this is that urban ecosystems are restored in a participatory manner. And connected to this, we also want to make sure that planning, when it comes to nature-based solutions on a city level, is done in an integrated and coherent manner. And another key aspect, and I think this webinar is a great example of this, is that we want to increase multi-directional learning and exchange between different cities, between different stakeholders and people that are interested in nature-based solutions and how these can be implemented also on the ground. And we want to raise awareness on the topic and build capacities. And I think, again, this webinar is a great example of how we try to achieve this, basically by bringing different kinds of people together. Again, I also would briefly like to describe this nature places people approach that Jörn also mentioned. So it's really that we are looking at these 3 kind of dimensions in an interconnected way. So we say, okay, we want to support nature and biodiversity by creating new green areas and cities and by recovering degraded ecosystems. We also want to create or cultivate shared places for exchange between urban, peri-urban, and rural populations, administrations, places where we bring these different people and groups together. And we want also use these places to strengthen the connectedness between people in urban settings, not only among themselves, but also between those people and the environment, and to strengthen this connectivity. And also just to give you a few ideas what you can expect from the Interlace project or what products we will come up with. So we are working on quite a lot of different products. For example, we will be developing a city NBS tool, which is kind of a decision-making tool for policymakers to really help them implement nature-based solutions at the local level. We're gonna create NBS governance atlas, which will showcase different approaches to nature-based solutions governance from all around the globe. We will also set up Interlace Hub, which will be a website that facilitates the exchange within our Interlace cities, the exchange between different stakeholders. We will also set up a Latin American repository of NBS, also showcasing good examples from this region. So as you can see, it's different kinds of products, and I think this already brings me to my last slide, and just a slide where you can see all our beautiful partners. So it's a consortium actually of 20 partners and a diverse set of partners, as you can see, the 6 cities, but also we have other research partners and communication experts. If you want to learn more also about our project, always feel free to approach us. You can see our email here and our website, and we're always looking forward to having an exchange with everyone who is interested on this topic and the project. So many thanks for your attention. And I give the floor back to the voice.
Emmy, you're mute.
Yeah. Thank you, Benedict, for the presentation and also for introducing this blog and also for having all of us working in this important project. Our next activity will be in charge of Sarah Holfleet from United Cities and Local Government, UCLD. She's Learning Director. And also Patricia Mancuello, Operative Coordinator of Latin America for UCLD Urban Strategic and Planning Commission. The presentation is of renaturing pathways. So welcome, and I give you the mic.
Buenas tardes a todos. Un muy buen saludo desde Barcelona, la sede de CGLU, la Casa de los Gobiernos Locales y Regionales del mundo. Es un gran placer estar aquí con ustedes compartiendo las experiencias y también un poco alineándonos en la construcción conjunta de ciudades más basadas en la naturaleza, finalmente, y para eso obviamente hay un largo camino de hacer, y uno de estos largos caminos son precisamente este proyecto que es Interlace. Tenemos una presentación para introduciros un poco que estamos trabajando en resiliencia, y después tenemos también una animación porque nosotros, como decía antes Jörn, nosotros somos muy suscritos a lo que es el aprendizaje y en particular el aprendizaje de adultos, porque pensamos que el cambio no solo sale de la cabeza, sale de todos los sentidos, y en ese sentido los aprendizajes tienen que despertar nuestra gana de jugar y de ser niños de todos nosotros. Y por eso aquí os vamos a llevar a esta parte de jugar con nosotros. Los intérpretes, me disculpo, he empezado en castellano. I will switch to English because the presentation is in English. Is it okay? So maybe first, what are we doing in UCLG? Okay. Yeah. So what are we doing in UCLG on resilience? We call this, this is our umbrella concept where also nature-based solutions, climate change and other environmental agendas are hosted. Hello, there's sound. Sorry, there's somebody, there's a mic. Yeah. Sorry, there's a mic, open mic. sorry. So we in UCLG, we are of course part of the MCR Making Cities Resilience campaign, which is a big move towards a Build Back Better. And in particular now with the recovery of the pandemic, we have the unique opportunity to also look more deep on what is resilience, and inside resilience, of course, this part of nature, how is it workable for local governments. And of course, we also are now in the global context. We have a COP again. The COP is the climate change summit, which is now these days taking place. So local governments, of course, have a voice there and do things. And our work to get it into action is mainly held by our concepts of resilience. So we localize the global agendas. This is SDG, this is Sendai, this is a Paris climate agenda, and we build on our own experiences, not our own, myself, of Sarah and Juan Carlos, who we are here from Learning Team. We build on your experience, on the experience of the cities, because we make a lot of peer learning and we learn from the cities what they are doing and build this in a partnership-based approach into learning modules. Here you can see some of the examples. And in resilience, we have now 2 modules. The first one is fundamentals. So this is very important because, of course, the starting point of local government is a different one than of experts or of environmental activists of academia. The starting point of local governments goes a lot through stakeholder engagement, through governance, and this is all explained in the first module. The second one looks more on, as Benedict was saying, urban planning, environmental planning. So how can we anchor this into the resilience work in practice? Next slide. If we look into this, we have, of course, the strategies and actions. This means, for example, for a city, when you want to be resilient, what will you do? So this is a wide-ranging possibility of activities. And here in the left part, you can see this is a more maybe a nature-based solution angle. In the middle, this graphic is from the city of Christchurch, one of the cities that best recovered of the earthquakes. They suffered several already in New Zealand. And the clear message is only with communities we are able to not only to recover, but also to be ready for next. And on the right, you can see a typical resilience project, which is very ad hoc. This is a tactical urbanism on immediate response, and of course also warming up a little bit the work with community that we really need to think infrastructure in a completely new way. If we look then how this works in our modules, which are learning modules, they train trainers. We are so happy to be here with the Costa Rica Association, where we have been training many of you, and also Monica and in FLACMA. And of course, we have seen not only with you, but also with the cities, that learning games are key for this. But actually, we need to really bring all the concepts together, because there is a lot of work to do in the future, and we hope that these modules will not only be a one moment shot. So we need to allow them to grow, to be always a better version that will be nurtured by good experiences. Next. So here, when we are now we are already on the dynamics. So this is one of the pieces I wanted to say, because if we are now looking here in our partnership with the Interlace partners, we see you have, for example, a great expertise on nature-based solutions. So how do we do this, and how does it look in the reality of cities? Many cities, as you say, have now the restoring and the redevelop is maybe more important because they also already consolidate. Other cities are still really growing very, very fast and impacting nature negatively mostly. So how can we look at this? And so many ways will lead to the similar conclusions. And there we have a dynamic, which will be explained by my colleague, Juan Carlos. And yeah, here.
Thank you very much, Sarah. So yes, now is the time for us to talk, for us to learn from each other, play a little bit. I remind you, for those who haven't looked at the chat, to add either EN if you prefer to go to an English-speaking group, or SP if you prefer to go to a Spanish-speaking group after this, while I'm explaining the dynamic. So we will be playing one of the games that was developed for the second module to discuss how nature-based solutions can be used in different contexts, in different situations that cities confront. So the idea for here is we will be dividing everyone in groups, in small groups. Each group will be confronted with 4 challenges, 4 cities, 4 different situations, and you will have 4 cards of nature-based solutions. These are potential nature-based solutions that you could use to resolve, or like to try to answer to some of the challenges that those 4 cities are confronting. The idea is that you then match those cities with the solutions that your group is given. And you also have the choice, the option to use 1 joker card. So 1 extra card in which you can decide or like make up by yourself 1 nature-based solutions that you have heard about, that you've known could help with one of those challenges. So each group will have, again, 4 cities, 4 nature-based solution cards, and 1 joker card that you would need to match to each other. You will have 10 minutes to do this with your group. So you will need to discuss within yourself, no, I think this is the best solution for this city. You can move the cards around while you are discussing. And within 10 minutes, we want you to make a decision. Within those 10 minutes, you can also see if one of the cities doesn't have a solution, you can use the joker card to make up your own proposal. After that, you will have 5 additional minutes to select the best match between a city challenge and a card for you to explain once we come back to the main room with all of the groups. So you will have 15 minutes with each of your groups, and then we will come back and share some of those best matches and why do you think that nature-based solution is the most appropriate for a specific city challenge. So before we jump into the groups, you'll be able to look at this is what your facilitator will be sharing with you. You can see the description of each of the cities. If you go through the different cities, and then you can move these cards around between the cities.
Thank you, Juan Carlos.
Monica, if you want to let us know who will be going where.
Yes, thank you. I already prepared the groups, taking in notice your preferred language. And also, if you find that you are not part of the correct group, you can be able to leave the room and join to another room. But just in case that there's some mistake, I hope there's not, mistake in language, because not all the people has at the preference language. As well, the room 1 is going to be in English. The room 1 in English is going to be moderated by Svenja. The room 2 in English is going to be moderated by, the room 1 is going to be moderated by John. The room 2 in English is going to be moderated by Svenja. The third in English is going to be moderated by Juan Carlos. In Spanish, we have 1 group is moderated by Emi. The second room in English is moderated by Pablo. The third one is moderated by me. And the fourth one is moderated by Sara as well in Spanish. So now I'm going to open the groups and see you there. Also, you will see in your screen the invitation you have to accept to join the group. The people who doesn't accept, we understand that they are not able to be a part of this activity, and they will stay in the main room. So please turn off your camera and as well your mics. Thank you. So we are going to the rooms.
I don't know who from your group, or if you want to do it, Jörn.
No, we said Doris, I think, will introduce our results.
Yeah, but I'm not prepared to share the screen. So if you could do this, that would be great.
Yes, let me check.
Yeah.
So yeah, just because of time, please just explain one city and the solution that you propose.
Yeah. So Doris, do you want to choose one of the cities?
Yes, okay, then we start with the first one, which I'm not sure how it is pronounced, Kombolcha maybe. So we put greywater recycling there to potentially enhance wetlands and streams and to reduce freshwater consumption and pollution. And the main reason, honestly speaking, was because we thought the others fit even less than this one. So we thought this would the best fit for Kombolcha. That's what we thought, yeah. But we realized that we could have placed several cards to several cities, so we have had a hard time in choosing where to place one card per city.
Thank you very much, Doris. No, this is certainly one issue that was raised also in our group in terms of water scarcity being one of the main issues. Is there any other group that has a really good proposal or solution for the city of Kombolcha and that would like to share it? You can raise your hand or open the microphone if you don't know.
Nosotros, nuestro grupo, I can speak Spanish, English. It's the same. Lo voy a hacer en español.
Vale.
Sí, nosotros, ¿puedo compartir pantalla, correcto?
Sí, por favor.
Ok. También nos sucedió algo similar a lo que es el grupo 1 en inglés. Nos dimos cuenta que había soluciones que tal vez se acomodaban mejor o peor, pero no había una definitiva. Y yo creo que esa es la propuesta principal de este juego, ¿no? El también nosotros expandir las respuestas que podemos dar. En este caso, nosotros decidimos integrar sistemas agrícolas climáticamente inteligentes, principalmente porque la sequía genera, pues, bueno, y desertificación evita que haya alimentos, y creo que este podría ser una buena solución para evitar conflictos entre distintas ciudades y mejorar el depósito de alimentos. Creemos que esa era una buena opción, pero como dice el grupo 1 también, se puede mejorar muchísimo más si nosotros integramos alguna de nuestras soluciones o la complementamos con otra.
Muy bien, muchas gracias, Pablo. Bueno, si no hay otro grupo que tenga una solución para la ciudad de Kombolcha, entonces voy a invitar al segundo grupo en inglés, que creo que es Svenja, para que nos propongan su mejor match. So if you can, if someone from Svenja's group can present the one that you think was your best match between challenge and solution.
Yeah, that will be Eva from our group, but I will share our screen, my screen.
Yes, thank you, Svenja. Yeah, I'll wait for it to share the screen. So we actually didn't find it too easy to find the most fitting solution for any of the cities. And for the city of Milan, we put from the cards that were available, if anything, then the green roofs and rooftops. But we also discussed that probably a good solution, a joker card for the city of Milano could be working with green corridors and introducing more street trees because they are, first of all, having a higher potential to reduce the air pollution than the vegetation you would have on a green roof, especially many kind of extensive green roofs in the climate of Milan. as we believe they have a higher potential to provide cooling at the street level. And also green corridors, if designed well or in a certain way, can promote more green mobility, more cycling, more walking, and reduce using type of transport that pollute the air. So that could address both challenges that are faced by the city.
Thank you very much, Vaya. Those are two very good ones. And I think one of the cards it's not in your group, but one of the cards is also ecological corridors. I don't know if any other group wants to propose something for the city of Milan. And I think this would be the last kind of remark within this sharing section.
Yes, our group. The
ahead.
other Sarah will go to present. I share screen.
Yeah, so our group for the city of Milano used the Joker card. So we proposed to build a big park within the city in order to, in one hand, the trees of this park will...
Sorry.
It's the Joker card anyway, so...
yeah, it was the Joker card anyway.
So it's okay, go ahead, Sarah.
Okay. So we propose this solution because on the one hand, trees can help in reducing air pollution of the city, and on the other hand, they can contribute to reduce the heat wave effect, as it was one of the challenges of Milan.
Thank you very much. So yeah, this is the idea is a little bit, usually we have very short time to do these exercises, but this is one of the dynamics of the module in which city officers and other stakeholders can get familiar with nature-based solutions. As you already pointed out, see that it's not about one solution, even when they're called nature-based solutions. These are all different approaches and part of a strategy. As is what it was mentioned in our group, it's not about only the local government, but also engaging citizenship, engaging private companies, and looking at this as an integral and comprehensive approach in which nature has a very important role to play, whether it's for restoration of biodiversity, ecosystems, resilience building, public health, which is one thing that has been raised during this pandemic as well, access to nature and the impact that has in both physical and mental health. So I hope you enjoyed this game, this first introduction to nature-based solutions. As Sarah was mentioning, this is part of one module that we've developed on resilience, which looks into other strategies for cities to build resilience from social aspects, cultural aspects, strategic planning, building back better, and preparing recovery and reconstruction plans. And before we go into the break and then we go into the second session, I wanted to invite Patricia from our Commission on Strategic Planning, just to share with you one opportunity to get to know more about these modules in one of the training of trainers that we will be having in Spanish. So Patricia, sé que vas a hablar en español. Para que nos hagas una breve introducción.
Hi, I'm Patricia Mancuello. I'm from Buenos Aires. I'm going to speak in Spanish, if you don't mind. Bueno, buenos días, buenas tardes a todos. Agradecer antes que nada esta posibilidad de compartir este momento, esta iniciativa tan interesante que se inicia hoy. Agradecer a FLACMA, al proyecto Interlace, a CGLU por esta posibilidad. Y en particular, bueno, el área de Buenos Aires en la que yo trabajo y represento aquí es la de planificación estratégica, y es desde allí donde estamos compartiendo con la ciudad de Durban la presidencia de la Comisión de Planificación Urbana Estratégica de CGLU. Desde ese espacio, junto con el área de e-learning de CGLU, con FLACMA, con Mercociudades, con CIDEU, con UNDR, vamos a invitarlos a sumarse a una capacitación que en este momento están viendo en pantalla, La misma se realizará los días 22 al 24 de noviembre, que de acuerdo a lo que anteriormente presentó Sara Heflich, abordará el segundo módulo que se ha trabajado se ha diseñado desde el área de e-learning de CGLU. El objetivo de esta capacitación es fortalecer las capacidades de los gobiernos locales y regionales para emprender y desarrollar sus propios planes de acción y estrategias para la construcción de resiliencia. La misma está pensada para hispanoparlantes, y para la misma hay un proceso de selección que está va a concluir con un proceso de selección, estando en curso en este momento la inscripción a la misma. Tienen tiempo para sumarse hasta el 31 de octubre, hasta este domingo. Los invitamos a ser parte de la misma. Así que bueno, sin más, agregaría, si no lo han hecho, porque no estoy viendo en este momento el chat, el link de inscripción, para que tengan un acceso directo a esta información que estamos compartiendo. Gracias por este momento y por toda la jornada, que es muy interesante. Hasta luego.
Excelente, pues muchísimas gracias. Y antes de pasar al receso, nada más queremos, vamos a tener 10 minutos de receso. Sorry, I'm also in Spanish. I have to switch. Well, I will start speaking in English. Now we are going to have our break. And I hope you had enjoyed this really good activity, because I think we start to thinking a little bit more in this kind of solutions for different problems. And as we saw in this game, we have so many different options to choose to face the same challenge. So thank you. I hope you come back with us after this 10 minutes of break, and you have time for a coffee, water, or whatever. So see you in 10 minutes. Well, so after this break, I hope you have bring your coffee or water. And now we are going to have a really also interesting part of the session. We're going to know a little bit deeper, and also all this process of this NatureBased Solutions in the cities. So we're going to have the participation and the presentation of two experiences, part of the Interlace Project. One is, I'm sorry if I cannot pronounce correctly the name of the city. I'm really struggling with my basic German. It's the city of Chemnitz in Germany, and is going to be presented by our colleague Max, who is already in the session. And also we're going to know about the experience of the CBIMA. This is a really particular case in Costa Rica, and is going to be presented by Erika, who is also in the room now. This session is going to be moderated by Svenja, who is part of the Climate Alliance, the organization who's part of this consortium as well. And just let me share if you are ready. If you are, I give you the word, Svenja.
Yes, we are ready, but I guess without much further ado, I would just suggest Max to start his presentation. I would like you all to write your questions in the chat, and then I will read them out to Max after his presentation. Thank you very much. Oh, I hope you could hear me. Just saying that my mic is up there. So please write your questions in the chat, and then after Max's presentation, we will answer them. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Svenja. I hope everybody can see my screen. Yeah, perfect. Okay, yes. So welcome to my presentation about the NBS experience from Chemnitz. Today I'm gonna tell you something about Chemnitz itself. So in order to get a better overview, especially for those fellows who are joining today from Latin America. So to get an idea of how Chemnitz looks like. Then I'm gonna tell you something about how we started, about the objectives, the challenges we encountered during the process of implementing NBS in the city context, some lessons learned, and afterwards, if there's still into a current NBS project here in Chemnitz. So let's get started. Chemnitz is located in Germany. It's located in the Middle East part. It's located in the Middle East of Germany, so roughly said between Berlin and Munich in the state of Saxony. And in Saxony, it's the third biggest city with roughly 240,000 inhabitants. So for Germany, it's quite an, I would say, medium-sized city. The location is also close, so Chemnitz is also located close to the Ore Mountains, and also no, it's located close to the Ore Mountains, and it also is located next to the river Chemnitz, which is also named, Chemnitz is named after the river Chemnitz. The annual average temperature is 8 degrees, so in summertime normal temperatures will go up to like 22, 25 degrees, and maybe on hotter days up to 30, 35 degrees, and in wintertime maybe around 0 to -10 degrees. Actually, Chemnitz is already quite green, so we also have a quite high green space per citizen ratio. So on every citizen, an area of 60 square meters accounts to, let's put it this way. And so Chemnitz itself is already pretty green. So from the outside, you might think, well, it's all pretty good, and so you don't have to change so much, or you don't need to implement so many NBS anymore because you're already green. But why did we start implementing those NBS? Mainly because of the climate change, so of the changing climate. So we encountered, or we realized that high tides are more frequent, that the occurrence of heavy rain events are more often. And especially in summertime, or also in spring and autumn, the temperatures are staying high for a longer time, and especially in summer months, the temperatures are getting higher than they used to be. So which is kind of then difficult, which concludes in heat stress, heat island effect in the densely built housing areas. Another reason is because Chemnitz wants to become a more livable and more resilient city. This is also written down in kind of strategic paper for Chemnitz, where Chemnitz wants to be in 2040. We also want to be more attractive for the citizen. So especially in those changing times, or in the future where cities are growing bigger and bigger, we still want to be attractive with a lot of green space, with a lot of green area for the citizen to come to Chemnitz and to live and work here. And all in all, so as summarized, I would say we just want to be ready for the future. And this is why we started implementing NBS, or this is why we are caring for our green spaces and parks here in Chemnitz. The objectives are kind of similar to it. So we want to adapt to the climate change. We want to increase and protect our already existing biodiversity here. We want to reduce the heat stress and the heat island effect, especially in those densely built areas like in the city center, as you can see here on the right-hand side, where we want to preserve those smaller parks here in order to cool down the city on hot summer days, and also as to preserve it as a meeting point, as a point for cultural events. And last but not least, we want to reconnect the people to the biosphere, or the people to the nature, so that they appreciate the nature and their benefits more. The challenges we encountered during our process of designing and implementing NBS is one, the financing of NBS. So without money, it's always difficult to get something done. So you really need to secure your financing or the funding. Then you need to have the acceptance, or the you need to have the acceptance in the city council, because they are like the main actor in this game, who are when it comes to what will be done in the city and what will not be done. So you really need to have the acceptance and the understanding of what are the benefits of NBS to the city, to the people, so that they will vote for it, for some NBS interventions. Then along with this, you need to negotiate a lot. So there are always different intentions, different ideas for different intervention areas. So as, for example, here also again on the right hand side, you can see the Kappelbach, which is in this picture, it's like the renatured Kappelbach, but before it was kind of a neglected area. The river was not nature adapted or nature close at all. So there were walls on both sides, and it was just like going straight down to the bigger river cabinets. But then there were different options. Either you could use it for housing areas, you could put an industrial park there, or you could convert it into a more nature adopted NBS intervention. And so you always need to negotiate a lot. And in the end, luckily, we developed it into an NBS. And then probably one of the most important or most challenging challenges is the communication. So intern, I mean like in your administration or in your municipality, but also with the other stakeholders outside of your administration. So the other stakeholders who are involved in the process of developing an NBS, or developing a specific area or specific wasteland into some renatured area. And this leads us to the takeaway messages. Before I come to my little example of Chemnitz, little NBS example. First, communicate. So communication is really the key. You need to communicate a lot in order to get everybody on board, to understand to let understand everybody what's going to happen in this area, what will be the benefits, what's not going to happen. So you really need to be clear and precise about what to expect of this NBS intervention. Second, get everybody on board. As I mentioned with the city council, it's really crucial that they understand why is it important to have this NBS here in Chemnitz. Then third, look for funding opportunities, or also look windows of opportunity. Why is it third? Because you could also look in the first place for funding opportunities, but then when there's an opportunity, you still need to communicate and get everybody on board before in this short time frame, mostly for funding opportunities. So this is like, now I put it in the third place, in order to be already ready when this funding opportunity or this window of opportunity opens up. So you just need to send in your application, and then hopefully everything will go out fine. And third, start doing. Or if maybe something doesn't happen or doesn't happen as you planned, maybe just start doing, and then somebody will follow who will think, oh yeah, this sounds like a good idea, I will do the same. So for example, maybe in your neighborhood, you just start doing it, and then your neighbor will follow, and then maybe a few years later, the whole neighborhood is doing your little NBS thing. And now to my little, or no, not to my, to the little NBS example from Chemnitz, the Pleißenbach or Pleißenpark. So this is an old aerial view of the Pleißenbach River. So in the middle, you can see like those old train tracks. This is an old industrial train station, which was used for roughly 100 years. It was for 100 years in operation. Then it was not useful anymore, so they just let it as it was. And then, so right after they left, the area looked like this. So it's still everything in place and not green at all. 20 years later, so today it looks like this. So the train station, the main building is still there, but there are like many birches and pines who are growing there now on the old train tracks, and who are kind of turned this old industrial area into a wilderness. And now the plan is, I mean, this is already kind of an NBS, but it's kind of really, it's not open, it's not really inclusive for everybody who's living around there, because it's not possible for everybody, especially for elderly people or for people in a wheelchair, to go there to enjoy the nature. So the plan is now to develop it into an inclusive park. So into an inclusive park, to re-nature the Pleißenbach itself, to open it up, to add some cycling tracks, and in order to be able for everybody to enjoy the nature, to have a meeting point. So kind of in this approach, like what Interlace is doing, people, nature, places. Thank you very much for your attention, and I hope you had a little impression about NBS and Chemnitz.
Thank you very much, Max, for this presentation, and yeah, which fits really well, because that's exactly what we wanted to share and discuss with you today. So how to get started with NBS. This first webinar. So what are tips that the Interlace cities can give to others? So thank you very much for this. And we have 2 questions from the audience. So the first is, how are you planning to involve the community? Are there any activities planned, and how if so, how will you communicate the project activities to the community?
We are involving the community in a way, since now that we, so for example, in the summer, we had an event where we invited, like a community engagement event, where I invited interested citizens to come to there, and then we presented what we are doing or what we are planning to do there. We presented those plans, we presented how it will change, what will be necessary to do in order to achieve this goal we are having, or this vision we have in mind in the next 4 years. So this was kind of more an informational an event for information. But how, so this is mainly also the communication part of the project, and there will be also more an community engagement or event where they will be able to decide how, I guess, the playground will look like. So how what they are wishing for. So if there should be I don't know, those things like what kind of different playground things there will be, so that they all have like a voice in the process.
Okay, thanks. So those are 2 examples of how you involve the local community in Chemnitz. And then there's a question if in the city there is like any norm that you are obliged that all the constructions are ecologic. Is there anything like that in Chemnitz?
Like new constructions, like new constructed buildings?
I'm not sure how the person who posed the question thought about it, but I believe more generally speaking, so buildings, when you build something new or when you do like a park, that there has to be this ecological component. Is this like an obligatory norm?
So on the one hand, it depends like where you're building. Then when you're building in, I guess it was like the city center or the, and also the surroundings, you need to, so when you're sealing unsealed surface, what was unsealed before, when you're sealing it with your building, then you need to also replant or get like an exchange to nature somewhere else. I don't know the name or the English code or the correct English name is for this word. So this is on the one hand. Then you can, it's always possible sometimes to get some specific things in it, like for nature protection or biodiversity, like some specific requirements. And Chemnitz is also trying, or is currently trying to implement different statutes for new buildings, like green walls, green roofs, and also greening of parking lots. So we are trying to get on a more environment friendly building areas.
So thank you very much, Max. And conscious of time, I would then ask Erika from CBIMA to present their activities there. There is one more question in the chat for you, Max. So I would ask somebody from the team to translate it to English, and then it would be super, Max, if you could answer it in the chat. Okay, so Erika, I would ask you to start the presentation now, or the team. I think the team is starting Erika's presentation. Super. So we can see it already. Yeah, that already looks very lovely. So Erika, the floor is yours.
Buenas tardes y buenos días. Bueno, mi nombre es Erika Calderón. Yo vivo en San José, Costa Rica, y hoy les voy a hablar sobre las soluciones basadas en la naturaleza que aplicamos en el corredor biológico interurbano María Aguilar. Si gusta, pasamos a la siguiente diapositiva. Bueno, para empezarles a hablar de cómo comenzamos a implementar o por qué empezamos a trabajar en las soluciones basadas en la naturaleza, primero voy a hacer una breve conceptualización de qué es el CBIMA, dónde estamos, algunos datos importantes. Creo que en cuanto a la población, bueno, como vemos en la pantalla, tenemos alrededor de por lo menos 402,000 personas habitantes, distribuidas en los 5 cantones que conforman el CBIMA, pero bueno, esto se concentra principalmente en la sección media y en la sección baja de la cuenca, es decir, en la provincia de San José y también en el cantón de Alajuelita. Tenemos por lo menos 13 asentamientos informales y en ellos tenemos diferentes niveles de pobreza. Tenemos pobreza extrema y pobreza entre las personas habitantes de estas zonas. En lo que respecta al territorio, el 71% del CBIMA es un territorio urbano, masificado, de alta densidad, con pérdida, digamos, casi total de lo que son los ecosistemas tipo bosque, y una alta también impermeabilización de los suelos. Digamos que cada persona habitante dentro del CBIMA cuenta con tan solo 9.95 metros cuadrados de áreas verdes. Esto obviamente va en contra de lo que son los estándares mínimos a nivel internacional, pero es lo que tenemos. Y otro detalle es que para llegar a esas áreas verdes tenemos que caminar un radio mayor a 10 minutos. Entonces esto también es una oportunidad de mejora que tenemos en el CBIMA. En este contexto es evidente, es una necesidad apremiante el poder recuperar y potenciar lo que son los servicios ecosistémicos que brinda la naturaleza y, bueno, entendidos un poco como todo aquello que la naturaleza, que los ecosistemas aportan a la calidad del ambiente y también a la mejora de la salud, la calidad de vida y, bueno, también un poco a la economía de las personas para enfrentar los diferentes problemas o las diferentes problemáticas más urbanas, que a través de las soluciones basadas en la naturaleza vamos a poder ver cómo fomentar todos estos procesos y también cómo poder crear soluciones no solo a nivel de gobiernos locales, no solo a nivel de instituciones, sino también dirigidas directamente a las personas de comunidad. Y entonces vamos a ver cómo desde nuestros diferentes ámbitos podemos contribuir a estos fines que básicamente sería como el mejoramiento de la calidad de vida y de la biodiversidad. La siguiente. A pesar de que estamos como estamos, y como les acabo de mencionar, aún así el CBIMA tiene una biodiversidad que realmente es un tesoro. Entonces, si bien menos del 12% del territorio del CBIMA corresponde a ecosistemas naturales, y también, como les dije, tenemos un alto grado de fragmentación, aún así podemos encontrar toda esta biodiversidad. Tenemos un estudio que se hizo hace unos cuantos años, donde dice que por lo menos en plantas tenemos 765, tenemos 38 especies de hongos. Este estudio se hizo no en la mejor época para hablar o para encontrar hongos, entonces, porque no se hizo en época lluviosa, entonces podemos presumir que existen más. Tenemos 308 aves, que esto representa a nivel de Costa Rica el 30% de la avifauna de todo el país, entonces realmente en un pequeño territorio podemos encontrar muchísimas aves, tanto migratorias como propias. Tenemos 84 mamíferos, entre ellos el perezoso de 2 dedos, de 3 dedos, hurones y muchísimos más. Tenemos 21 especies de anfibios y 84 de reptiles. Siguiente. Y recientemente hicimos un mapeo que se puede incluso llegar a profundizar sobre lo que son los servicios ecosistémicos que se dan en el CBIMA y, bueno, básicamente, cuáles serían los objetivos que tratamos de perseguir o de alcanzar. Yo creo que serían básicamente todos, desde el cambio climático, la adaptación, la mejora de la biodiversidad, hasta lograr incidir en los emprendimientos y mejorar socioeconómicamente la calidad de vida de las personas también. Yo creo que un poco la vida humana existe o sobrevive gracias a los servicios ecosistémicos y, bueno, de hecho las personas no podríamos vivir sin la naturaleza, es un componente básico, por lo que es la conservación, y entonces debería tener como fin último garantizar nuestro bienestar y también alcanzar ese bienestar para el CBIMA es básicamente como el objetivo final que tenemos. Y, bueno, para ello tratamos de lograr algunas metas que incidan tanto en la mitigación, en la adaptación al cambio climático, el mejoramiento de la biodiversidad y el acompañamiento a diferentes emprendimientos ambientales. En suma, nosotros vemos desde el CBIMA la herramienta de corredores biológicos interurbanos como una manera de poder reconciliar lo que son los entornos naturales con las prácticas amigables y la convivencia en sociedad. En el CBIMA, como les comento, acabamos de hacer un estudio rápido de lo que son las soluciones basadas en la naturaleza para ver cuáles servicios ecosistémicos estamos dando y encontramos por lo menos 36. Podría ser, esto es un dato súper conservador, porque si se analiza más profundamente podríamos encontrar muchísimos más. Entonces damos servicios de apoyo, damos servicios de aprovisionamiento, servicios de regulación y servicios culturales. Por tema de tiempo, en esta exposición voy a hablarles rápidamente de cada uno de estos 4 tipos. No sé si podemos pasar a la siguiente imagen. En cuanto a los servicios de apoyo, estos son algunos, digamos, a modo representativo, hacemos muchísimo más. pero bueno, hablamos muy fuerte del establecimiento de la trama verde, tanto en parques lineales, en parques municipales, en las áreas de protección de los ríos. Esto lo hacemos en gran medida con viveros municipales y comunales que tenemos a lo largo del CBIMA. Hacemos compostaje, trabajamos el tema de la apicultura, la meliponicultura y también hoteles de abejas solitarias, entre otros temas. En cuanto a lo que son servicios de aprovisionamiento, aquí podemos decir que trabajamos muy fuerte el tema de lo que son las huertas caseras, comunales, incluso también estamos trabajando huertas en centros de educación, viendo un poco cómo nos adaptamos a la pandemia. Algo que tiene que continuar, haya o no haya pandemia, es la educación. Entonces hemos visto en los centros educativos como unos aliados muy importantes para poder darle continuidad a estos temas, pero también una forma de cómo llegar a las familias. Entonces llegamos a través de los chicos y las chicas, estudiantes. Hacemos también, buscamos semillas para reforestar. Tenemos identificado a lo largo del CBIMA cuáles son los árboles semilleros, entonces de ahí podemos obtener esa fuente que necesitamos. También trabajamos el tema de cosecha de agua llovida, entre otros. En cuanto a lo que son servicios de regulación, se trabaja en la creación de aceras permeables en la capital, en San José. Estamos estrenando las primeras aceras permeables del cantón. Estamos trabajando en temas de reforestación, como les digo, en áreas de protección. Siempre una labor ordinaria son las limpiezas de residuos sólidos. Esto nos permite un poco, entre la reforestación y las limpiezas, ir mejorando o regulando microclimas, el control de la erosión. Estamos innovando un poco con baños secos, y tenemos ahorita uno en Alajuelita, en el vivero municipal, y también se trabaja muy fuerte el control de la población de palomas castilla. Cunetas verdes, hacemos captación y fijación de carbono, la formación también de una calidad de suelo, suelo principalmente en el gran área metropolitana, que es donde se ubica el CBIMA. Es un suelo que no es de la mejor calidad, sino que ha sido un poco producto, originalmente era el mejor de los suelos, pero se ha venido degradando, se degradó por muchas décadas con todo el proceso urbanístico. Entonces, eso es lo que tenemos ahorita. Y trabajamos el tema de polinización, trabajamos lo que son techos y paredes verdes, entre otros temas. La siguiente. Finalmente, en lo que respecta a los servicios culturales, aquí, bueno, esto realmente es un tema intangible, no podemos medirlo, y es algo que trabajamos casi que de manera transversal a lo que son todos los servicios que damos, desde actividades recreativas, festivales educativos. Hacemos mucha educación ambiental con las comunidades, con los centros educativos. Tratamos de hacer rotulación informativa para que la gente sepa cuando se topa una especie, cuál especie es, para que sepan dónde están ubicados, que ahí están en un corredor biológico interurbano, que entiendan que un corredor biológico interurbano no es solo estar a la orilla de un río, sino es vivir en una zona completamente urbanizada, urbana. Hacemos mucha apropiación de espacios públicos, cleteadas urbanas, tratando un poco de convencer a la gente de que hay otras maneras de movilizarse de manera más ambientalmente sana. Hacemos pintura de alcantarillas, entre otros temas. Un poco los desafíos que tenemos, ya les comenté brevemente. Tenemos una ciudad muy fragmentada, tenemos diferentes espacios, digamos, en cada uno. El CBIMA está conformado por 5 gobiernos locales, 5 cantones. Estos cantones no funcionan con el mismo presupuesto, tampoco tienen las mismas capacidades, no tienen, digamos, su personal es sumamente variado, y esto a su vez, digamos, implica que los recursos económicos obviamente siempre van a ser escasos, las necesidades múltiples. Hay una presión urbanística sumamente fuerte, y también tenemos, como les mencionaba, escasos espacios, o no cumplimos con los estándares internacionales mínimos para los espacios públicos. Aún así tenemos unos que son sumamente atractivos, En general, creemos que esto es como una oportunidad de mejora. Los espacios públicos los consideramos que no solo constituyen un derecho para la población, sino que también juegan un rol fundamental en lo que es la estructura de las sociedades, nos permiten hacer cohesión social, son espacios donde definitivamente se genera salud, no solo física, sino mental. Y lo que tratamos un poco de hacer es ir potenciando también lo que son las conexiones para la biodiversidad y brindar lugares que incrementen la calidad de vida de las personas ciudadanas. Entonces, yo creo que en términos generales, el mayor desafío que podríamos identificar que tenemos en la ciudad CBIMA, entendida como un todo, es ver cómo hacemos para ir generando cada vez más soluciones basadas en la naturaleza y a su vez, como les comentaba, como fin último, ir creando esa mejor condición o obteniendo mayor calidad de vida y también mayor calidad de la biodiversidad que tenemos en el lugar. Hasta el momento, nuestra ciudad ha sido diseñada, pensado un poco, priorizando un poco la dinámica del vehículo privado. Eso es algo que queremos romper, eso es algo que tratamos de concientizar a través de la educación ambiental, como les acabo de comentar. Y bueno, también lo que tratamos es como de romper este modelo y tratar de que el nuevo modelo que queremos que se implemente y que estamos implementando desde las diferentes soluciones basadas en la naturaleza que venimos creando con estos 5 cantones, es uno que sea centrado en las personas y centrado en la biodiversidad. Un poco la siguiente, para concluir, ¿cuál sería la clave del éxito que hemos encontrado? Y yo creo que definitivamente son las personas. Nosotros trabajamos desde las instituciones, trabajamos desde los gobiernos locales, de la mano con las comunidades. Las comunidades son quienes habitan, quienes trabajan en los diferentes lugares del CBIMA y son, por lo tanto, quienes saben identificar de mejor manera cuáles son las necesidades reales que tienen cada uno de los territorios. Entonces, para poder identificar estas soluciones basadas en la naturaleza o los servicios ecosistémicos que se quieren dar, necesitamos trabajar fuertemente de la mano con las comunidades y es lo que hemos optado por hacer. Tratamos de hacer procesos que sean transparentes, que sean públicos, que sean abiertos. El tema de rotulación, tratamos un poco como de democratizar la información y democratizar los espacios públicos. Entendemos que un espacio público realmente no es significativo si no puedo tener acceso a él. Entonces, si está ahí, pero yo no puedo alcanzarlo porque tengo que bajar unas escaleras, porque no existe una rampa que me permita llegar a él y tengo algún tipo de discapacidad, entonces es como si no existiera. Igual, si no conozco lo que hay a mi alrededor, es como que no le puedo dar el disfrute máximo. Entonces, hemos tratado o procurado un poco de ir generando estos datos abiertos, estos datos públicos y ir capacitando a las comunidades y trabajando de la mano con las comunidades. Y también tenemos una necesidad de ir generando información de carácter científico. Entonces, en este sentido, hemos apostado por el tema de la ciencia ciudadana y por la generación de estos datos. Los hacemos a través de las comunidades, capacitamos a las comunidades y a su vez las comunidades nos dan los reportes de los avistamientos que hacen de todo tipo, de aves, de anfibios, algún árbol que se encontraron y no saben qué es y quieren saber identificarlo. Entonces, todo esto nos permite casi que georreferenciar en cada sitio del CBIMA o especificar dónde están ocurriendo alguna problemática, dónde se están identificando especies. Y bueno, eso también lo acompañamos un poco con la tarea de colocación de cámaras trampa, que es algo en lo que nos estamos estrenando y que nos ha dado bastante buenos resultados. Y a futuro lo que visualizamos es poder obtener información que sea relevante a su vez para tratar diferentes temas o para poder generar educación ambiental. El impacto que tienen estos datos de biodiversidad que nos permiten capturar, por decirlo así, con lo que son las cámaras trampa, nos va a ayudar a todos los diferentes temas que hemos venido repasando. No sé si queda alguna duda y si no, agradecer el espacio. Estoy atenta para cualquier pregunta.
Thank you very, very much, Erika, for this presentation. You touched so many points. We could ask you so many questions, but I found it interesting that also as well in Chemnitz as in CBIMA, this idea of inclusive spaces that are really accessible to the inhabitants close by, that is in both cities, that is like a crucial element. And there is also one question to you. Where is it? Which is also about communications with citizens. So I would pose that to you. And then after that question, we will conclude the webinar and say some concluding words. So the question is, how do we reach the citizens about the educational workshop activities, and how is the resonance of this? So are there many citizens taking part in these activities? And do you focus mainly on children or also adults? So that's quite a few questions in one.
Bueno, tenemos como un antes y después de la pandemia. Entonces, ahora que estamos en pandemia, que creo que es como tal vez lo más relevante, hemos apostado mucho por las redes sociales. Entonces, estamos en Facebook, estamos en Instagram, estamos en Twitter, tratamos de comunicar también a través de los diferentes medios de cada uno de los gobiernos locales, como para decir, estamos haciendo esto, únanse, estamos apostando por medios informativos como los de las universidades, radios locales, o sea, tratamos de hacer mucha promoción para que la gente se dé cuenta que existimos, empezando por ahí, porque es una labor trabajar con el tema de corredores biológicos interurbanos. Para mucha gente es algo aún así que lleva muchos años en ejecución, algo desconocido. Entonces hemos logrado sumar personas de esa manera. La rotulación, tal vez algo que no comenté mucho, pero nos hemos dado la tarea de identificar fincas que son prioritarias porque son sitios públicos, porque son sitios verdes grandes de algunas instituciones en general. Entonces hemos rotulado, hemos puesto, usted está aquí en el CBIMA, la gente ha visto los rótulos y tiene un correo electrónico de contacto, nos comunican y así hacemos, digamos, como ese contacto inicial. Trabajamos, yo siempre digo que el CBIMA es un espacio interdisciplinario e intergeneracional. Entonces trabajamos desde las niñas y los niños más pequeñitos hasta la gente adulta mayor. Es un espacio realmente muy, muy inclusivo en ese sentido. Por eso es que trabajamos con los centros de educación. Hemos hecho diferentes concursos de escritura, de dibujo, y entonces así nos aseguramos llegar a personas jóvenes y a personas adultas. Ahorita incluso vamos a hacer un concurso de poesía. Entonces realmente tratamos como de no discriminar e incluir a todas las poblaciones, porque entendemos que los espacios públicos tienen que ser espacios justamente inclusivos y son para todos y para todas. Entonces un poco por ahí va, digamos, la orientación que le damos.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the presentation. And there is one more question, which is quite large, I reckon, at Chemnitz and at CBIMA from Augustine. So it would be great if somebody from the team could translate it into English. Erika can answer, and then to translate the answer in whatever language so that everybody in this webinar can follow the conversation. That would be excellent. Yeah, so yes, so Monica, do you want
I have a question, please. I have a question, please.
Yes, could you write it in the chat, because we are, yeah, we don't have time for more questions. I'm really sorry.
Thank you.
Is that possible?
In Spanish.
Sí, ya.
Bueno, te pregunto, en primer lugar, te felicito por tu importante exposición, mucho que aprender. Quisiera que me dijeras, en la práctica y en realidad, ¿Ustedes cómo logran invertir la pirámide de movilidad, centrarla en una movilidad peatonal y de los ciclistas? Y en la práctica, ¿cómo logran reducir los vehículos con combustible fósil? Igualmente, este propósito, ¿cómo se conecta con el modelo de ordenamiento del territorio y cómo logran empezar a transformar la urbanización depredadora? Muchas gracias. Thank you.
Gracias, Selma, por vuestra pregunta. Por favor, puede escribirla en el chat y nuestros ponentes van a contestarla ahí porque ya estamos un poco tarde con nuestro webinario. Lo siento mucho, pero muchas gracias por participar y, proponer su cuestión, su pregunta. Okay, Monica, do you want me to say some concluding words or how do we go on?
Yes, please go ahead. I'm just asking to everyone just to open the cameras, just to take a final picture and don't have more time in this process.
Okay.
Okay,
so I've been asked to give like a short recap of this first webinar. Yeah, maybe I think I would start with Karen Potter's introductory words, where she said that the local authorities are like a key building block for this work on urban ecosystem restoration. And then continuing with Benedict, who said, who pointed out that nature-based solutions don't only have this like ecological goal, but also a lot of other goals, and also especially these social dimension. And then we played the game, which I thought was excellent, to try out with you and just start a conversation with you on different nature-based solutions and where they could fit best. And then we had now these two really great presentations, giving, I think, a lot of food for thought, following up questions. So please contact the speakers if you like, or write us here in the chat, or contact us at Interlace if you would like to know anything more. The next webinar, so this is a webinar series, so the next webinar will take place on the 27th of January. So mark that date in your calendar, but we will be sending all of you who participated here today also some more information on that. And the idea is that every webinar from now on, so this has been like an introductory webinar, will have a certain focus where we'll look at a specific element of nature-based solutions or a specific method or process, and in more depth. And I would like to thank all the speakers and the team who organized it. Thank you very much. It was really great. And of course, you participants for joining us here and being part of this Cities Talk Nature community.
Also, please follow us on social media, in the Interlace social media. Now we can find the account, just to keep in contact with the activities of the Interlace Project. And if you have any other comments, questions, you can send us a tweet or an email. So thank you so much for your assistance, also for stay for these 2 hours. And I hope you are now feeling as well so inspiring, and have a nice day for the Latin American persons, and have a nice evening for the Europe region.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.